everyone. We'll be live here in just a minute. It looks like my voice is pretty quiet. Turn that up a little bit. As you can tell, we are not in our normal recording area. Hey everyone, how are our voices coming through?
Can you hear us?
Let's move yours a bit closer. Sorry about this handling noise. Like that. And I know we're a bit quiet today, and the music is probably going to be a little bit louder. As you can tell, we're at a completely different setup right now than we normally are. And this is like the stuff I could bring with me without getting crazy. tempted to just tape the microphone to my hand so it doesn't make any handling noise. Seems to be pretty quiet. Okay. Talk into your microphone a little bit.
Hi everyone, how are you doing today?
Alright. That's going to need to be turned up. All right, testing, testing.
Is the chat room on auto refresh?
Yeah, it is.
No one's answering us.
I think it is. Yeah.
Huh?
And we've got some viewers. 6 people watching. I know it's a strange time for everyone. Let me get my notes set and then we'll go. That's not working. Thought we tested this and it worked. Okay, hold on, guys. I thought I tested something here and it didn't work. That's not working. Thought we tested this and it worked. Okay, hold on, guys. I thought I tested something here and it didn't work. Okay, hold on, guys. I thought I tested something here and it didn't work. Okay, here's where we're going to have to be. You're going to end up hearing us at a much lower quality because now, considering that this little thing isn't working, I have to switch to the internal microphone for you to hear us. So it's going to be really low quality in this live stream, but the audio podcast that we'll publish tomorrow will be much better. So just stand by, please, while I switch that around. now we are going to be able to hear ourselves, I believe. Check, check, yeah.
Yay, I can hear you.
Yep. Okay, that's working there. This. Sorry about that.
It's okay. That video's frozen.
Yeah, I paused it.
Okay.
And then that plays out to the built-in output. Okay. On the live show, or the live stream, you're not going to be able to hear our sound effects. Test. Oh, they can't even hear us right now. Test, test. Test, test. Test. Why? Test, 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 test. All right, on the live stream, it's going to be this much lower audio quality. Sorry about that. Okay. I've got, that is the past. This is the present. Okay. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Yeah, I know, you've been just sitting here, ready, waiting. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. John, what you're most likely going to need to do is remix these audio files into the recording, as the way that I'm playing these right now is probably not a very high quality, but all the files are in the folder. Here we go. You're listening to Once, episode 188, Poor Unfortunate Soul. Welcome back to another episode of Once, the unofficial podcast for ABC's TV show Once Upon a Time. I'm Daniel J. Lewis.
And I'm Hunter Hathaway.
And we are in San Diego right now. Awesome to be out here. I'm speaking at a local social media marketing conference. And this is where Hunter is from currently.
Yep.
So it worked out really well. Someone wants to call us, apparently. Okay, that's an edit point. Let me say that again. We're here in San Diego right now. I'm speaking at Social Media Marketing World 2015, and it worked out really well to be near Hunter at this time, that we could watch the episode together, record this podcast together. So that's why it's not Jeremy and Aaron normally joining us, but Hunter, it's great to meet you in person.
I know, we've been talking for years.
Yeah. So we have dug into the details here of Poor Unfortunate Soul. And we've got your feedback. We've got some great things to draw from this. So let's get into this by talking about the past. The first thing, since I like to talk about the timeline, is from what I can tell, this timeline is probably 50 to 100 years after Hook initially had the run-in with Rumpelstiltskin.
It looks like that.
Because even it was Poseidon said, you spent a lifetime trying to get revenge.
Yeah, so it has to be at least 50 years.
Right. So, yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, something like that, 50, 60, 75, 100 even.
Yeah.
What do you think overall of this episode?
The more times I watch it, the more I like it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I love if you haven't seen it already, it's all about Ursula and it's got a lot to do with the Little Mermaid storyline that intertwines in it in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like how they take their standard Once Upon a Time twist with this episode.
Right.
And now Ursula is not the real Ursula. Well, she is the real Ursula, but not like the sea goddess Ursula.
Yeah, exactly.
And Ursula is very Ariel in
Yes.
this episode.
Yes. And I like how they take some of the aspects of the movie and intertwine it into the Ursula storyline.
Right, yeah, the Disney movie you're saying.
Yes, the Disney movie.
Yeah, like with the music and the title, even Poor Unfortunate Soul, coming from the Disney movie.
The shell.
Yeah, the shell taking away the voice in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of things. No wedding going on at the time, no seagulls.
No,
like
no talking seagulls.
And then they
Or
even threw
flounder.
in Ariel for us.
Yes.
I think in some ways, I know like Jacqueline had commented that maybe they threw Ariel in just because they thought, well, we can't do a movie that's very or we can't do an episode that's very Little Mermaid-esque
Right.
without actually including the Little
And
Mermaid.
it's nice to see her again.
Yeah, as small a part as she played, and in some ways kind of odd of a part to play.
Yeah.
But let's get into this, starting with the past. While Herc is working for Peter Pan, that was something I really liked getting to see because it ties in with previous stuff. And I did realize after rewatching this episode that this episode has some tie-in with every major season's story arc. And
Yes,
this
it
is the
does.
tie-in with the first half of season 3, talking about Pan. And it seems like right now what they're doing for Pan is that they are just trying to gather sweets for him.
Yeah, that's really strange. But he is a kid,
Yeah.
technically, and they've got the Lost Boys, so they're going to need a lot of candy and sugar.
Cakes
Yes.
and all kinds of things. Whatever they're doing right now, I wonder if that's all that Hook had to do for Pan is just bring food back and forth. But the pirates stopped their work only when Ursula stopped singing. And her singing is just so hypnotic in this.
Yeah, it reminds me like of a siren.
Yeah.
Like her voice, like the sirens in some of the mythological storylines, when they sing, it like traps them and they all consume to her. So it's kind of like that storyline.
And that is very true to many interpretations of mermaids, where mermaids and sirens are very closely related.
Mm-hmm.
Some would say they're kind of the same depending on which mythology that you're looking at. So it does fit in nicely there, and I like how they do that with Once Upon a Time, tying in a lot of mythology. Even later on, it's funny to watch. The more times I rewatch an episode, I look at some of the side characters often. And in the tavern later on, when Ursula was singing, there's a guy who just seems like, oh, she's done, and just like wakes up from this trance, and then they all applaud.
Yeah, it really surprised me how fast, once she was done singing, that Hook got out of the trance compared to everyone else on the ship.
It does seem like after that first encounter with her, that he's almost immune to her singing from that point on.
Or he's learned to like block it out.
Right. I do wonder, and this isn't a backstory that we're probably actually going to get to, but what did happen to Ursula's mother? Poseidon said that a pirate killed her.
Yeah, how did he kill her? Why did he kill her?
Yeah. Backstory we'll probably never get, especially since, do you think Ursula's done now with this season?
I don't know. I mean, I know guest stars for the upcoming episode, so I can't talk about that. I'm not going to say yes or no if she's there or not, but I do not know.
That's the difficult thing with having you on the podcast right now, because you know the spoilers, and Hunter and Jacqueline will be sharing spoilers later on in the podcast. But because of that, there are going to be things where Hunter is just going to have to say, I don't know, or no comment, and I'm going to be left here theorizing on my own, just to keep it spoiler-free, because of our spoiler policy.
But we did get to meet Poseidon.
Yeah? What'd you think of him?
All I could think of was Ghostbusters. I'm sorry. For those of you who don't know, he was in the movie Ghostbusters, and every time I saw him on the screen, I just thought of that. I don't know why.
The whole Poseidon thing and Ariel and a lot of this, I felt like was pretty forced in this episode, or overly convenient, or in a way just filling time. And I'll get
Yes.
to a couple more of those in a little bit. When young Ursula was in the tavern, we learned that Poseidon has his own vault of magical objects too. I
Yes.
guess that's the thing that everyone that has magical powers likes to do.
Well, they need to keep him away from those that can't use magic or are going to abuse magic.
Yeah. And Glower Haven is some land, I would think, other than the Enchanted Forest, because this tavern, it could be just a reused prop, but we've seen this tavern before. They've used it for other things, like the hunter was in this tavern, the huntsman, that is, was in this tavern, and we've seen the dwarves in this tavern before too. So it could be like actually geographically supposed to be the same tavern in Enchanted Forest. It could be somewhere else. The dock where Hook has his ship is very similar to the dock where we've seen it before, like when Snow White and no, not Snow White. Point. The dock is very similar to what we've seen before when Emma snuck onto the dock back when Emma and Hook traveled back in time, and that was Enchanted Forest.
Yes.
So I'm thinking this is happening right now in the Enchanted Forest, which is Mist Haven, and Glower Haven is some other realm.
Or just some other area, like
Yeah.
another kingdom's area.
Well, it seemed to be that would be far enough away that Ursula would have to take a ship. Like she
Right.
couldn't just swim there.
Or she could swim there if she was still a mermaid, if she wasn't wearing the bracelet.
Yeah.
But she's not allowed to be under her father's ocean.
Yeah.
So,
Now, side note here, if there's stuff that you want to say on a scene, just
Mhm.
jump in
okay.
at any point. Like if you if you respond with a comment that I'm saying, then go ahead and jump in with your
Okay.
own stuff because I can't see your notes.
Oh, no. We haven't gotten that part yet.
Okay. When Poseidon was on the ship with Gold, no, not Gold. When Poseidon was on the ship with Hook, it reminded me of season 1 in the way that Poseidon held out that seashell and wove his thing over it and said, "Now it's enchanted."
Yeah, his trident.
Yes. It reminds me of, it's almost verbatim, part of it is verbatim, to when Charming was with Rumpelstiltskin in the Enchanted Forest.
Yes.
And they had their little sword fight, and then Rumpelstiltskin had the ring, and then he said, "Now it's enchanted."
Yeah, it to me it doesn't really show much, but it just lit up and glowed, and then it's like, okay, here you go, it's special now. But it's very similar to the Disney movie shell in
Yeah.
that it takes her voice, but in the movie it takes her both her talking voice and her singing voice.
She did, when she lost her voice, she did seem to sound different,
Right.
like more raspy, not so pure sounding, or like a soft voice.
Right.
That's it. She didn't have a
Yes.
soft voice anymore, which was part of her singing voice, I think.
But yeah, like in the movie, she completely has no voice, and she has to like mime everything that she needs.
Yeah. Squid Ink.
Yep.
Really? I know Jeremy is pretty uptight about the Squid Ink thing. And we've seen in season 1 that yes, Rumpelstiltskin was paralyzed by something.
Right. But didn't they write something with the squid ink and
Well, there was when Emma and Snow White were back in the Enchanted Forest. The Squid Ink was in Rumpelstiltskin's jail cell. He had a little supply there, and it was basically, the point is that he could have escaped at any point. Does that mean Squid Ink did actually paralyze him, though?
I don't know. I think they're just writing things in as they need it to happen.
I think, at least with Squid Ink and paralyzing people, I think we can say they're being consistent with that.
Yes.
Because you look at the times that Squid Ink was used. Okay, yes, Rumpelstiltskin was in his jail cell and he could have gotten out at any moment with Squid Ink, but he was paralyzed by presumably Squid Ink in that quill. And Squid Ink worked in season 3 on Peter Pan, even.
Right.
And Peter Pan sometimes seems to be even more powerful than Rumpelstiltskin. And the Squid
Yes.
Ink worked for him, or paralyzing him. So I think, yes, the Dark One could be paralyzed with Squid Ink, but that's not really taking revenge.
It's not. I mean, I think the only way, in Hook's mind, revenge is death, not paralyzing.
When we start talking about the Neverland timeline here, I do get a little confused about this, and I know Jacqueline was as well, because we did learn that in a flashback that Rumpelstiltskin learned how to kill the Dark One, and that was with the dagger.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know at what point he learned to do that. I think we'd have to assume it's after this point, the events of this episode. But then why did he work for Pan for so long?
I don't know. I think they're. I mean, we know he worked for Pan for a very long time because it had to have been a couple hundred years that he was um, in Neverland. So I just don't know where he learned what.
Yeah, and he was in Neverland for a little while, but had never set foot on the land when Bay got there. It's trying to dissect that is a bit
Yes.
too much in depth for the moment. I thought it was strange that Poseidon called himself both the Sea King and a deity.
What is the difference between the two of them?
Well, I think being a king is royalty. It implies you can be killed, someone else can outrank you, or I mean, not outrank you, but supersede you. And it's passed on through lineage. So his son would eventually be king, presumably at some point, I don't know, hundreds of years, thousands of years, anything like that. And it seemed like he got his power from his trident.
Yes. I know in the Little Mermaid story, the king there, he had his power through his trident. So when Ursula overtook him in that movie, she got the trident.
Right? Yeah. So what also is confusing is that the original Ursula is called the sea goddess.
Yes.
And I thought initially, well, that's fine. Okay, she's the sea goddess, and Poseidon here is the sea king. But then he says to Hook on the ship, how dare you attack a deity?
Right.
But yet this deity only gets his power from his trident. It's a little odd, a little inconsistent,
Yeah.
writers.
I don't know.
And I know Jacqueline also pointed out that this raises to question if Poseidon is the father of his own daughter. Yeah, let me say that differently. I know Jacqueline also pointed out that if Poseidon is a deity, does that make his daughters also divine? So is Ursula not just a regular mermaid, but is she, the daughter of a sea god? And so therefore, when she got the power, she is actually a goddess.
Well, we know his wife wasn't a deity
Yeah,
because she died. So maybe Ursula's half and half.
maybe. And I know there are different mythologies on whether deities can be killed or whether they're eternal.
Yeah.
But it's a good point to bring up. Do you have anything else to say about the past?
All I noticed is that we never saw them swim.
Yeah, we
Did you
saw
notice?
Ariel swim.
Well, yeah, but we never saw Ursula swim. She never went into the water after she got her tentacles.
Yeah.
We never saw Poseidon swim. And
Mhm.
he had legs, and I did notice he had the cuff in present day time, but we never saw him with a cuff or standing or even with a tail. That was just something that was weird to me because I'm thinking it's got to do with budget.
Yeah, that could easily be. And yeah, some of the effects on this episode were pretty cheap. But speaking of budget, I want to thank some people who helped make this episode of the podcast possible. Your kind donations really support the podcast and keep it running. And for this episode, I want to thank David Newland, Steve Johnson, Lisa Slack, Swan Got Hooked, Tracy Anderson, Daniel Clark, and Marianne Lavati. Thank you very much for your kind donations through our website at oncepodcast.com/sponsor, and that's where you can donate one time, automatic monthly, or per episode through Patreon. Thank you very much for your kind Thank you very much for your kind contributions. We really could not do this podcast without you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you'd like to be a sponsor for an episode or several episodes, please go to oncepodcast.com/sponsor. And thank you also for voting for us in the podcast awards. The voting is now closed, and we have to wait until the middle of April to discover who the winners are. So now is that time of eager anticipation, just waiting to see, and we'll discover. Those will be live on podcastawards.com in mid-April, and you can go there to watch the live stream when it's available. But thank you very much for your support. Let's hope that we take home an award this time. Now let's talk about this present day. What's happening in Storybrooke starts out at Rumpel's cabin, and I remember in the initial reactions, I was initially excited about hearing about the dragon. That was our little season
Yes.
2 story arc reference. And there was also a season 1 reference here where Rumpel said it wouldn't be the first time he lied to my face, referring to August, and that actually referring to when August basically pretended to be Bay.
Right. Which I kind of hoped for in the beginning.
But then August described this stuff about the dragon, researching the author, was interested in the author, had all of this research and stuff. But now rewatching the episode a couple times, I have to think, was any of that true?
I don't know. I mean, we never saw any of his research. Regina got his whole saddlebag from the motorcycle.
Right.
So she got to go through all that. And is the trailer still around?
Yeah, the trailer, I would assume the trailer is still
Why
around.
wouldn't they have looked there earlier?
Right. Well, I think Mr. Gold knows that August is a liar. That's why he didn't even check the trailer. But August seemed a little bit disappointed when Gold said that.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, was there maybe a trap there? Or was there maybe actually something in the trailer?
I don't know. I would probably think that there was something in the trailer because August didn't know that he was going to be turned back into a boy when he was.
Right.
So I don't think he would have had time to set up a trap. And he even said, made a comment in the episode about how he remembers being the boy, even though the boy doesn't remember being him. So, like, it's not like the boy could go and put a trap at the trailer because he didn't know about it.
True. And also, as Jacqueline pointed out in a note to us, what August described isn't actually what happened in the episode Selfless, Brave, and True when we met the dragon.
Right.
August was going because he wanted to be healed. So is it maybe that just August is pulling this thing off his head and lying? So as cool as it was to receive a reference to the dragon, it's hard to tell when a liar tells you something. You can't always assume they're always going to lie, but yet you can never know when they're telling the truth.
Yes, and that is always a hard thing.
I want to think he was telling the truth because that'd give more validity to that whole dragon character.
She was such a cool character.
Or could have been a cool character.
But did you notice how Regina was protecting him the entire time?
Yeah.
Like every time she she took the knife away and then she started the fireball and like So she had control over the whole situation. I just liked how it showed that she was still good
Mm.
and not reverting into her evil self.
It almost seemed like August got her little joke against uh, against Cruella
Yes.
earlier because it looked like he was trying not to smile at what she said about Cruella. But then it became obvious to August that no, it doesn't look like Regina's here to help in any way.
I think he was confused. I don't think he knew that she was trying to protect him, but like us watching the scene, we could see that she's really trying to be good and protect him, but still keep her cover as being evil.
And she basically knows what his hot buttons are or how to really make him
Right.
talk and scare him into talking. But he did still lie to her after, she inspired him. I loved how they made Snow do the talking for Regina. It looks so crazy to see her mouth moving, but Regina's voice coming through.
Yes, that was really cool. And she like kind of took on the personality, persona.
Yeah.
If you watch her body language, you could tell as soon as she was gone and how she like hunched over. It's like, okay, whatever this foreign thing is out of me.
Yeah. When they went to talk to Belle, I know a lot of people were thinking this. What good was the oath, the pirate oath, that Belle and Hook took if on the next day she just says, "Oh, yeah, I gave it to Hook"?
Well, I think it was. I understand because I thought that was hilarious too. But if you look, he was in the scene, so if he had been like giving her a look or something, he would have been like, "Wait, what?" Because she's like, "But I gave it to him." Like he was right there asking with them to get where's the dagger, and she's like, "But I gave it to him."
But their oath was actually to not even speak of it to each other.
Right, but if someone were to come up to you and say, but I gave it to you, and you'd be like, but I don't have it. Like, that's just a normal reaction. I thought this was a completely normal reaction to that situation.
Well, I would keep the oath. Because I might have to assume that, well, that might make me an accomplice to the Dark One. So maybe I shouldn't keep the oath. I'll have to wrestle with that decision. But man, how much Belle must be hurting. Wow. Let me just let that sound die down a little bit. Whatever that sound is. Okay. Oh, yeah.
The
Is it?
trolley just came through. I just saw the back of it,
Okay. So it's gone now.
I guess.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's a train track or a trolley track right outside the hotel. All right. Oh. Man, that pain that Belle is going through here.
I know. I feel so sorry for her.
She's been deceived now multiple times by Rumple, and she's really realizing all of this. It doesn't give me a lot of hope for she and Rumple to get back together at all. I mean, already I thought there wasn't much hope because of Belle discovering how much he was already lying to her.
Yeah. And like, she like banished him and everything, and like, she was using the dagger, and I really felt like that was like the end. And now it's like she's over the top. Like, I am completely done with this guy.
Right. We are never, ever, 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 ever getting back together.
Oh my gosh.
When Emma and Hook were talking about the dagger, and Hook said, I should have just killed him with the dagger, it did make me think, oh, what if one of the ways that they're going to turn Emma's heart dark is what if she does become the Dark One? What if Rumple somehow makes her so angry that she does stab him with the dagger?
But then that would kill him.
Presumably, yes, but dead isn't dead really
Dead
anymore
isn't dead
on
in
the
this
show.
show. Yeah. I mean, that's very interesting. I mean, I've never really thought of anyone actually using the dagger. It's like that thing that's always there and always can be used, but no one's actually going to go that far because that means that then them themselves will turn evil.
And it could be something kind of like what happened in the middle of season 3, where Rumpel killed himself and his father with the dagger.
Yep.
By doing so, he remained the Dark One, but was then resurrected from that tar.
Right.
So Emma is a magical creature. She's the product of true love. She has white magic, but apparently she has the heart that has the potential for the greatest darkness. So if she were to use the dagger on Rumpel to kill him, maybe it would act differently and the whole conditions would change because it's not a regular person killing the Dark One with the dagger like Rumpel originally was.
I don't know. We need a whole book on rules of magic and how they relate to the show.
I'll say this for the audience because the audience is thinking it. The writers need a book with the rules sometimes. I, I would say this isn't really the best, most consistently written episode. It was still a good episode, and like you said, yeah, the more I watched it too, and the more I think about this, the more I watched it, the more I liked it. And Jenny enjoyed it as well because she's a fan of the Little Mermaid thing, and Jenny liked how they twisted the storylines and wove things together in different ways. When they showed August the page from the book, for one thing, now all of August's memories are back.
Yes.
He remembers himself as a boy. He remembers himself as a man. He remembers everything that has happened before this. In Bouquet, in Leather, with Emma, and all of that. And it also makes me wonder, does August actually know more about the book and the author than he's telling?
I think so.
What do you think he knows?
I'm not sure what he knows. I just know he knows more.
Okay.
I really do. I think he's trying to keep it quiet because it might be one of those big secrets like that no one's supposed to know. Like I don't know an example of a real life thing, but it's like you always speculate things, but you never are supposed to actually know the truth. And I think that's what it is. I think he's holding it in as best as he can because maybe he himself is like an apprentice. He's not the apprentice, but like an apprentice, and he is. Well, I mean, he added those pages to the book, so he already knows more about the book than anyone else.
Do you think he knows the author? Has ever talked directly to the author?
I have no idea.
He knows where the author is. How does he know that? And he knew who Balefire was. How did he know that? Probably the author.
The typewriter.
Yeah.
I really don't know how he knows it. I just have a gut feeling that he knows more than what he's telling everyone.
Right.
Did you like the Kong shell that they were using in the movie or in this show? That's how he called Ursula.
Yeah. Yeah, and it reminded me of when Neil called the squid in Neverland.
Yes.
And Ursula is kind of like squid-like or octopus-like or something like that.
I was trying to really hard to listen for it, and it was very, very faint. But she picked up on that right away. She could hear it from, I'm going to guess, miles away or across the forest, or because no one knew where they were at that point.
Yeah, it's tying back. Yeah, I don't know what I was going to say there. Oh, yeah, that
I
was
love
my
what
point.
Jacqueline wrote right there.
When Hook and Ursula then start working together to get the ship, this whole thing of the ship has a lot of problems with it. And I mean, they introduced a lot of problems with this episode, I think. Like the fact that Ursula, just by tapping the water with her tentacle, can open a portal.
Well, she is more powerful than even her father now. So she does have the magic capabilities. So it could just be part of her tentacles powers.
Yeah, true. But then Ariel can open a portal, and she's just a regular mermaid. And it's known, apparently, that mermaids can travel between worlds.
Right.
And Jacqueline made a really good point about this, that the the magic is starting to be lost a little bit in the original story and the original premise of this is a land that no one can travel to because it's a land without magic.
Right.
And the only way you could get here was with the Dark Curse. Now we're discovering all of these other ways that people could get here. The sorcerer can open a door, the apprentice can open the door, unless, Jeremy.
But now that magic, but that's magic is now there. So maybe because magic is now prevalent in Storybrooke, there are other ways of opening up portals and stuff. Because we did
Yeah,
not see Ariel open the portal to Storybrooke before the curse was broken.
true.
On all these other ways of people getting to Storybrooke, we did not see that before the curse was broken.
Yeah, yeah, very true. And even like the rabbit, tying this in with Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, the rabbit didn't come to Storybrooke for Will until after the curse was broken.
Right,
So yeah, that does make more sense that this is no longer a land without magic.
right. Because
It,
that's the only part that does have magic. Magic is not in the whole world or in the whole planet Earth. It's just in Storybrooke.
right, because Rumpel brought it at the end of season one. So that's what makes this world travelable again.
Right. That's what I believe.
Yeah, that makes sense. It reminds me of a video game I actually played called Borderlands 2. And in it, there's this thing you have to do to bring a city back online, and then you can travel to it from anywhere. And that's kind of what it seems like that they did with Storybrooke here, is it's online with the magical world. All of these worlds, like Jefferson talked about back in season one, all of these worlds are connected with magic. And now that our world has magic again, it's connected, and it's only not, you can't travel between it when there's a dark curse of some sort. Because remember, Hook had said that travel between the worlds was impossible. Okay. Remember, Hook had said that travel between the worlds was impossible during the, well, there have been multiple dark curses now, but during Pan's dark curse. But then when Snow cast her version of the dark curse, travel between the worlds was possible again. And then that's how Hook got back to our world, as he found a magic being. So I think all of that to say, the portals thing, I think, is more consistent when we consider that magic is now in our world.
Right,
Our world is online, or at least Storybrooke is.
right. Yeah. And what did you think of the ship in the bottle?
Cute, but really unnecessary, I thought.
I thought the scene was funny because, like, she smiled. Like, he's like, oh, it didn't work. And she's like, yes, it did. And then up pops the little ship in the bottle. And I thought that was really cute. But the whole backstory for that was very weird to me.
Yeah, you could have easily said that when Ursula brought the ship over, Ariel just so happened to be passing by and it grabbed Ariel too. But
Yes.
then you'd have to question, well, where is Blackbeard? Where is his crew? Where's everyone else that was on the Jolly Roger at that time? Unless you just say that it was nighttime and they were all off the ship. That could explain it too.
But the whole, okay, so with the whole Ariel part, the whole how she got trapped in the bottle and that Blackbeard got some royals angry in Arendelle, like that to me just, that whole little part confused me so much.
Mm. Especially since we've never seen Elsa with that kind of power before.
Right. We know she can freeze people,
Yeah.
but I've never seen her shrink anything or put it in a bottle.
You could say that there's a scientific explanation for this, that many materials do shrink when frozen.
Okay, I will give you that, but I don't think it'll shrink that much. I really don't. I mean, we saw in the last half of the season when people would get frozen, they just froze in place and they were still full size.
That's because they weren't super frozen like Cook's ship was.
When they're super frozen is when they crash to the ground into lots of little pieces.
I'm trying to give them credit here. It's not working too well.
No.
Yeah, and I mean, having Ariel there, yeah, that's one thing. Makes it convenient, ties her in with the Little Mermaid story, and gives us a little bit of an explanation for where or what happened to Blackbeard, sort of. And I think we can assume that Blackbeard is probably just prisoner somewhere.
Yes, I think so. Or
And
he's frozen too.
yeah, and Ariel, now that she's helped Hook, she's probably gone back to Prince Eric.
Yep, I'm going to guess that as well.
So Ariel was miniature for a little while inside that bottle.
Yes. But it couldn't have even been that long. No more than 6 weeks.
Yeah, probably. Or it could have been a little bit longer, but yeah, somewhere around there. Regina's dream, what do you think of that?
I thought it was very interesting. I really liked seeing Regina all in her evil queen attire again.
Yeah.
But it was also confusing. The first time I saw it, I'm like, why is she throwing a fireball at both of them? Um, but then, like the whole protecting him, I don't know. It was confusing me. It was a dream. Let's put it that way.
But there's something to the dream. And Regina recognizes that, and I don't think it has something to do with Emma necessarily.
No, I don't think Emma had anything to do with it.
It could be something to do with Marion, that Marion is somehow a danger to Will. Now, this could be in multiple reasons, but remember that we've heard different things about from Tinkerbell, how because Regina did not go to Robin at that time when she met or saw Robin in the tavern, because of that, Tinkerbell said, "You ruined his life." But it really seemed like he did have a good life.
It did.
He had a woman that he loved him. They had a wonderful son, cutest boy on Once Upon a Time, probably, little Roland. It's not like, oh, that's torture. This is ruining his life. But I wonder if there's something here where maybe something has happened to Marion, and now she has become a threat to Robin. Maybe it's something like a disease. Maybe it's Marion has turned to the dark side and now she's a threat to Robin. And so in this dream, that's what Evil Queen was doing, is trying to get Marion away from Robin. Or it could be something completely different. Maybe Evil Queen was trying to get Regina away from Robin, protecting Robin, realizing that Regina is a villain and can't have her happy endings. Or maybe this is some way that the author is trying to communicate with Regina. There are many different strange ways you could go with this.
Please listen to spoilers after this episode.
Okay. I figured when you weren't saying anything, I thought, you know something. Here is a message we received from Jessica Frayne saying that she was thinking about Regina's dream and the symbolism. Jessica said, "I think it means something. I have long thought that Regina is afraid of self-sabotaging her own happy ending. Actions have consequences, and for a long time, Regina's evil acts have not led to a path toward a happy ending. Regina seems to be afraid of enjoying her own happy ending in front of her, and she constantly doesn't accept the love in front of her. In this dream, she does exactly that, in that her evil side takes over." I tried to look up dream analysis for this dream, but I don't know what to search for. So I looked up fighting, since Regina kind of fought herself to protect Robin. What I got was interesting in that the dream analysis is the following. To see others fighting in your dream suggests that you are unwilling to acknowledge your own problems and turmoil. You are not taking any responsibility or initiative in trying to resolve issues in your waking life. To dream that you are trying to fight but cannot throw your arms as hard as you want signifies lack of self-esteem and self-confidence in some area of your waking life. You are unsure of your next move. This dream may also affect your actual state of REM paralysis during the dream state. Thank you, Jessica, for bringing that research here. I don't know about the whole dream research thing and what it signifies and all of that stuff, but in movies and TV shows, dreams always mean something.
Yes, they always mean something.
So
They
this,
wouldn't show it to you if it didn't mean something.
yeah, yeah, so this is going to mean something. I think we are going to get the answer to this because this is something, I know you can't comment here, but this is something that they showed us and they left it as an open door and they made it obvious that it's an open door because of Regina going to talk to Emma. If this was just a bad dream, Regina would have woken up from it and just been like, oh, that was a bad dream. But because Regina is now trying to explore the meaning of the dream, tells me they're going to explore this and the dream does have an important meaning. And we'll probably see that in upcoming episodes. And you can listen to the spoilers soon from Hunter and Jacqueline to really find out what it is that Hunter can't say right now.
One of the things, just jumping ahead just a little to the whole part where she asks Emma to help find Robin, um, wouldn't she have given Robin her phone number before they left?
You would think, but maybe they didn't
Like,
think
she's
of
like, I
that.
need a way to contact him, a phone number or anything. Well, when you banished him from the land, well, not really banished him, but had him cross the line, the border, wouldn't you think that you would have given him your phone number saying if you need anything to call me?
Yeah, it was kind of an emergency circumstance that they had to cross the line. But he didn't have a phone.
Doesn't mean you can't get to a
Yeah,
phone. I mean, when you get settled, here's my number, call me, tell me you're okay.
I know one thing you could be thinking right now is, well, maybe phone calls don't work into Storybrooke. But that's not the case
True.
because Greg and Tamara talked over the phone.
Right, and email works, so
Yeah.
there's internet, so okay, do a voice call over the
And the
internet.
whole thing about Henry's adoption, Regina
Right,
left Storybrooke and probably had communication with the adoption agency back and forth while she was in Storybrooke. And actually, Rumpel did
right,
because he was the one that arranged the adoption.
correct.
So there is communication in and out of Storybrooke.
They just might not know it, but yes.
It could have also been something like they didn't want to enable themselves to seek each other out because of concerns about where the relationship was and where things were going at that point.
I don't know.
Back at the cabin, when Rumpel came back, we learned some other interesting things here. Now we can see when August is telling the truth and when he isn't, so it's more convenient for us as theorizing what's going on. But the sorcerer trapped the author in the book, and we learn that later on. So the author is trapped in the book. He's trapped behind this door. The sorcerer put him there. Why? It sounds like the author is the good guy and the sorcerer is the bad guy,
It does sound that way.
especially since it seems that the sorcerer has this hat, which has a very malicious meaning, but the apprentice seemed to be a good guy. Now, I know, Jeremy, you're out there, you're saying the sorcerer and the apprentice are one and the same. That is a great theory. Another theory is that maybe the sorcerer and the author are brothers. This would tie in nicely with some stuff that happened in Lost. And I know Jacqueline and also in the forum, Slurpees 108 are thinking something similar. And you look at certain things like Slurpees mentioned Cain and Abel from the Old Testament and other sibling rivalry like Jacob and Esau, Rachel and Leah, Joseph and his many brothers. And that's just looking at the biblical accounts of sibling rivalry. In history, we certainly have lots of accounts of sibling rivalry.
Yep.
And as we know in Once Upon a Time, everybody's related. So I really would not be surprised if the sorcerer and the author are related.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't. Or
I,
even if they are, like, that wouldn't shock me.
even the apprentice, maybe he's the son of one of them.
Or like a step sibling.
Yeah. Yeah, the brother that was
Or a
charged with
half
protecting.
brother. So he only gets to be an apprentice and not a full-on powerful person. What did you think of the whole um, nose growing story part of it?
It was cool to see that finally happen because we hadn't seen that happen in Once Upon a Time, but we know that from part of the Pinocchio story.
When did his nose go back to normal size? Because isn't it as you tell the truth, doesn't it go shrink again?
Well, that's the way we know it to be, but here, yeah, well, he did tell the truth, so maybe it
And
went
it
back to
didn't.
normal size after
Yeah,
that, or maybe the magic just wore off.
it could have.
Because that's part of even Cruella's joke was that the magic wore off and she liked the scruff.
I loved how they left Cruella because she was the guard dog.
Jessica Olsen sent in a suggestion here tying things in with Emma. She said, I'm not the biggest fan of August, but it was kind of fun to have him back. I hope they eventually turn him back into a little boy again, though. Poor Marco. Anyway, when Rumple brought up his built-in lie detector, it made me think of Emma's superpower. I had always assumed she got it because she was, quote, the savior, unquote. But now I kind of wonder if Emma got the power by traveling through the tree portal with Pinocchio, and some of his lie magic, for lack of a better term, rubbed off on Emma. Probably it was just a coincidence, but they seem to be the only two with some sort of power or magic surrounding lying. I think that's a great observation,
Yeah,
Jessica.
that's interesting.
Now, Belle does have this ability, and it has finally been said on the show, but the writers have said this for a while, that Belle's superpower sort of is the ability to see good in people. That's kind of the opposite of Emma. Emma's ability is kind of to see the bad in people, to see when people are lying, or to tell when they're telling the truth.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also how she grew up, too. She grew up on her own, so she didn't really have anyone that was being nice and kind to her. If you look at her past storyline from her growing up, that's just the way she is. She's okay, this can't be good. What's wrong with this?
Right. When the Charmings and Emma were together, and Mary Margaret and David were a little bit shocked by Emma saying something about, yeah, I wouldn't blame Hook. I'd do something even horrible too. It's not the first time Emma has said something like that. You remember in the episode Broken, the season premiere of the second season, Emma threatened to punch Rumple's face in.
Yes.
So she's not without her threats and her dark side.
I think everyone, though, has a dark
Oh,
side.
yeah.
If you look at all the characters, like, yes, this is uncommon for Emma to act that way, but it's not out of the norm for everyone as a whole. Everyone has got something bad happens, and bam, they'll have that evil streak. They could be the sweetest person in the world. But, I mean, if you look, Snow has a black spot in her heart because she did something evil. It's just the way everyone is. It's just we finally get to see it.
Yeah. And look at what Jacqueline pointed out back in Neverland, that really emotional scene where Emma got Regina to take the heart of that one lost boy out.
Yep.
So, yeah, she has this dark side. And there is the big question then of what would actually trigger Emma's going dark. And I know Jessica sent in some great feedback on that. But that's what I think we're going to see is Rumple is going to start manipulating situations and turning Emma dark or making her start to doubt things. At this point, really, they're really setting things up for Emma to discover that Snow and Charming have been lying to her.
I think it's only a matter of time until they find out.
Yeah,
I mean, if her superpower is to tell when someone's lying, then it's got to happen sooner or later.
right. But she feels like it's just going haywire at the point.
Yeah.
Expand my notes. I didn't really have much to say on some of these.
I love the frying pan. Jacqueline had a lot to say about that.
Okay, let's talk about this part. When they come to break out, Let me say that again. When they come to break out August, I think a lot of the stuff that happened here with Ursula and returning and all of that was really, really a stretch. Poseidon's return here, I think, was the worst part of the episode, just really
Yeah.
forced. And what is really a conflict to me is how Hook is doubting his ability to get a happy ending when he just helped a villain get her happy ending.
I don't see him as doubting his ability to get a happy ending because he says he has his happy ending.
Right, but he might lose it, yeah.
Right. I can understand him might losing it, but he's not doubting that he has one. He has his happy ending now because he says it's Emma. But you have to admit that this scene did bring one of the best things out, the frying pan.
Yeah.
And the frying pan, if you do not know, is the best weapon ever. And you will see that actually with Rapunzel in the Tangled movie, and now Snow White has used it, or Mary Margaret, depending on what you want to call her nowadays. But it's the best weapon, and I love that scene. I just love seeing the frying pan come out and hit her in the back of the head.
Yeah, meet the frying pan. Your new best friend.
Did you know? Did you notice when Cruella left that scene? Because
No.
I kept like the last two times I watched it, I watched it so intently, trying to even see like a little bit of black or a little bit of white. And I mean, it's not like okay, she is a very skinny person, a very tiny person, but that jacket is not tiny. So, how did she get out of the room and no one noticed?
And also very silently ran her car.
Right, because her car's not quiet either.
Yeah, yeah, they didn't let you see anything like that. It's one of those things that it just happened off camera. We're just supposed to assume and not think about that one too much. But it was neat to see, again, a great model of family making right their wrongs and the father apologizing and giving Ursula back her singing voice. And then her willful choice to go back with him, even though he was willing to let her be and follow her own path. It's really neat to see that reconciliation. I think that is awesome that they did bring that out in this episode. And when Ursula got her voice back, didn't you just notice she seemed to glow from that point on?
And it's the same song from the movie of The Little Mermaid. And in the movie, the shell glows as the magic's happening. So, and then when the voice enters you again, you start glowing. So I really like how they brought that in.
And it's amazing, the actress who plays Ursula, how up until this episode, we've seen her as villain, 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 and she's looked that.
Yes.
And now that she's got her happy ending again, which is just her voice, now she no longer actually looks like a villain.
Did you notice that happened all really fast?
Yeah, it did.
For as many years as she has been mad and a villain, she overcame being a villain quite fast.
Right. Well, she was a villain. All right, let me put this differently, because I am thinking about this thing of Hook being worried about losing his happy ending because it was once a villain, but he was also once honorable. Ursula was also once honorable, and she wanted her voice back. Now she's got her voice back. I wouldn't necessarily say, at least that we know of, because we haven't seen everything Ursula has done. I take that back. We have seen Ursula work with the other witches to help Rumpel get the dark curse. So, yeah, okay. I was thinking that maybe Ursula wasn't actually truly a villain. She was just kind of bitter about her loss. But no, thinking back to it, she's done some bad things and some villainry, whatever things. So yeah, she was a villain, but she's got her happy ending now.
Yes.
When Ursula then held up her end of the deal and told her plan, or told Gold's plan to Hook, there's some really interesting depth here that took me a couple times watching this episode to really understand. See, it sounds like this author is a bringer of happy endings, but he can't give happy endings to the villains because he didn't write the happy endings that happen in this world. Emma brought those happy endings, even though she didn't write it. We still don't know what kind of power the author has, whether he makes the stories happen, or if he's just recording them, or maybe like he has a power to bless the people in a sense who are being heroes.
Well, I'm going to talk about this. We talk about it more in the spoilers, so we don't know if this is a spoiler, and I'm not. That's why I'm putting it out there. We already saw the picture in the book of Regina and Robin. That never happened. How do we have that picture? So this is the whole thing. Is he just writing down what happens? But that never happened, and we have a picture of it.
Right.
So is it the choices that everyone makes? Like maybe he's like the person all knowing, and there's like all these different storyline branches, and it's which way you choose is the one that he grabs.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Or think about this. That picture did happen. It happened in Regina's dream.
Okay, yeah.
That's part of what makes me think that maybe the author is trying to communicate with Regina through her dreams and through that paper. Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. This is like I said, that's not a spoiler, that's not nothing like that. I don't know. We do theorize it in the spoilers at the end of this episode.
So the author apparently is the giver of happy endings, at least in the Enchanted Forest.
He could be. I mean, I personally don't think he gives anyone anything, but that's just me. I think it's more like choices. Like I said, that there's a whole bunch of storylines, and it's which way you choose to go.
Yeah. And if the author can't bring the happy endings to the villains because Emma is the bringer of happy endings in this world, it makes it seem like Emma is more powerful. And it makes me wonder, could Emma willingly bring the happy endings to the villains? So maybe Rumpelstiltskin's plan is not to corrupt Emma so that the author can give the villains the happy endings. But maybe Mr. Gold's plan is to corrupt Emma so that she will become a villain, so that she wants to give the villains a happy ending, so that she'll sympathize with them.
That's interesting. I don't know. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Like, why does he need to corrupt her heart? Okay, yeah, if she's the bringer of happy endings, sure, she needs to be out of the picture in some way, or her power needs to be gone. But what does corrupting her do? That's what I've been trying to figure out.
I just see her as she's, it's that whole, in my mind, nature versus nurture thing.
Yeah.
So it's like she wanted to be good, and so she's good, and she's got this powerful magic, and she chose to go to the good side. And now what happened? He just wants her. Rumpel is an evil person, any way you look at it. You could be in love with him. I don't care. He's still evil, but he wants her to be evil, to be on his side. So like, it's just like, okay, let's pump you full of evil.
Yeah.
And just make you the evil person that there is.
About the happy endings for each of these villains, Brianna sent in a theory here saying way back when Rumpel first connected with the Queens of Darkness, he mentioned that he knew what each of their happy endings were. It seemed like none of them wanted those happy endings shared. Well, we now know that what Ursula's happiness meant, and we can take a guess at what Maleficent's had to do with, though that hasn't been shared with the villains yet. It makes me wonder if all their happy endings are, quote, soft, unquote, and therefore that's why they wouldn't want them shared. That's a great point. And it's not something like, oh, true love or family or the kingdom or something like that, but something small, something, yeah, soft, like Brianna pointed out. Ready to move on to the last?
Sure.
Okay. Expand.
I have a half hour and then meter's up.
Okay, cool. So we'll be wrapping this up anyway. back at the Charmings, back at the Charmings loft is when Regina and Emma talked about the dream, and Regina's hiring Emma basically to find Robin. I think she will ultimately find Robin, but what is she? You might not be able to comment on this, but what is she going to find? That's my question. Is she going to find Robin like in a horrible circumstance? Is Robin going to have turned to the dark side? Maybe because of something that's happened outside of Storybrooke. I believe that Emma will find Robin.
Well, that's what she does. She does a great job at finding
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
She was a bail bond person. She got her money by finding people.
yeah. So she's good at it. She's found everyone that she's gone looking for. She'll find Robin. Logic would say that. But what will he be like? And will it be just as simple as a phone call, or is there going to be something worse that happens with this?
This is once upon a time, so you can just assume everything's gonna have something worse.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's my long lost brother. Oh, he's evil. I mean, there's. They need to make it that way in order to keep the show going.
And now we know that the author is trapped in the book. That's what August pointed out, and that the illustration of the door is actually the door, which
Did you find this a weird scene?
yeah, a bit weird.
Because, okay, he was just tortured by Regina, who he believed to be evil. And now, all of a sudden, he's spilling out all the secrets right into this. Like, to me, that just seems a little odd.
But he does trust Emma, and Emma said, "It's okay, trust me." And it looks like he's kind of taking that.
Or maybe he's also remembering back to when he was a little boy and Regina was being good.
Yeah, that could be too. Megan from Boise, Idaho suggested that maybe one of the ways that they have to get the author out of the book is to read him out of the book. Like maybe they all have to read the book, or maybe Emma has to read the whole book out loud, or something like that. You put in all the pages, or I've even thought maybe all they have to do is just put in that page, and then that's how they're able to
Or something with
communicate.
August because he knows how to bind the book and do everything like that.
Yeah, yeah. But there's probably going to be more magic to it than that because the illustration of the door has been there with the book.
Squid ink.
Yes, that's it. It all comes down to squid ink. That's what's going to open it. We got in some feedback from this. Jessica Olson said, I thought it was interesting that the author is in the book. It brings up a lot of questions, though, like how long has he or she been there? How did they get there? Do they want to be there? And can they write or alter the book from there? Did the sorcerer possibly banish them there or send them there on purpose? Or did the author choose to go there to escape the sorcerer or something like that? Is the author Maleficent's child? Is the author a villain? You know, here's one other thing that Jessica's voice or message here pointed out. He or she, have they ever referred to the author by a gender?
I don't think so. I don't remember it.
Not to my recollection, I only remember them ever saying the author.
Right.
The sorcerer and the author are two different people. They've referred to the sorcerer as a he, but I think they've always referred to the author just as the author, which makes me think it's going to be a woman.
I have no idea.
If it's a woman, maybe it's the wife of the sorcerer.
Could be. And have you noticed, though, there is nothing new in the book. Everything is from past fairy tale, from before the curse hit. It's nothing from after the curse.
Right.
So did he get trapped in the book right around the time of the curse? Because
Maybe.
remember, okay, this is going way back when, with the fairies, this Mother Superior or Blue Fairy, whatever you want to call her nowadays, she says we have to go make preparations. Maybe they trapped the author in the book at that time to preserve it.
I don't know about that because when they showed the book to Blue Fairy or Mother Superior there in Granny's Diner, She was amazed at the book, which threw all of those theories out that they wrote the book. But then that's when we learned that the sorcerer and the author are two very different people. But I would have thought that she could have said something like, "Oh, I put the author there," but she didn't.
Oh, I wouldn't. I don't see anyone saying that they were the ones that did that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Matthew Paul suggested something on the flip side of things. He said, "I thought I'd share this little theory I have about the author. Some have assumed that the sorcerer might be evil and trapped the author in the book for his own nefarious purposes. However, what if this isn't the case? What if the author is the sinister and mischievous one? What if the sorcerer imprisoned the author in the book not to abuse his powers for his own gain, but as punishment for his behavior and as a method to keep him under control? Having the power to control everyone's lives through the power of writing would likely give the author a god complex, which could be in itself very dangerous. Freeing the author from his imprisonment could be a huge mistake and result in yet another catastrophic problem our characters will have to deal with."
Season 5.
Yes, I like this idea. And this could be, yeah, that thing that pulls us into season 5 is as season 4 is now we're almost halfway through the last half of season 4. And as it's starting to draw to a close, it looks like there isn't enough time for us to meet the author and really deal with the author because they're giving it so much of a lead in that it'd be horrible if it's just one episode and it's over with the author. So I like the idea of the author possibly being the villain in the next season and what that could entail. I like this different aspect of thinking because back at what the Blue Fairy said in the diner. She said the author and the sorcerer are two very different people.
One might be good and one might be evil.
Yeah, I could just be remembering this incorrectly, but I don't remember her saying necessarily that one was good and one was evil.
Yeah, she didn't say anything like that.
And we've seen different things that indicate that the sorcerer is good and that the sorcerer is evil. The sorcerer and Rumpelstiltskin didn't get along, presumably. When Ingrid went to the sorcerer's apprentice, the way that they had their conversations all made it sound like the sorcerer is good. And that's why he was concerned with helping Ingrid is because he didn't want to help a villain. So maybe the author is the bad guy. I like that thinking. Anything else to say about this episode?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay, let's wrap this up then. Well, this concludes our conversation of Poor Unfortunate Soul, but you can continue the conversation by commenting on the show notes at oncepodcast.com/188 or go to the forums at oncepodcast.com/forums and start your own conversations, participate in many of these other conversations, and send us your feedback for future episodes of Once Upon a Time. We'll be back on our normal schedule for upcoming episodes and would love to have your feedback. Thank you very much for the feedback you've already sent. We tried to incorporate as much as we could, especially since we're recording in a completely different place right now and completely different audio quality and equipment and all of that stuff. But we'll be back to normal very soon. And we'd love to connect with you on Twitter. So please follow us on Twitter at Once Podcast and connect with us each individually. I'm Daniel J. Lewis on Twitter at The Ramen Noodle.
And I'm Hunter Hathaway on Twitter at Bit of Pixie Dust.
And please connect with our other co-host, Jeremy Laughlin on Twitter at Phlegon, Phlegon, and Aaron on Twitter at Aaron J. Cruz. And you'll hear from Jacqueline and Hunter in a little bit from their spoilers segment. This podcast would not be possible without our great team of volunteers and your kind donations. Special thanks in this episode to Corbin for sorting our feedback, Jack writing our show notes, John Buchanan editing the episodes, Hunter and Jacqueline providing spoilers, you'll hear those in just a moment, Jacqueline and Matthew Paul moderating the forums, Jacob helping with the screenshots, Keb managing our timeline, Aliascape moderating the chat room, and my fellow co-hosts Jeremy, Aaron, Hunter, and Jacqueline hosting this podcast with me. And Hunter, I really appreciate you being part of this too, live in person.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Be sure to go to the show notes and subscribe to the podcast. Please leave some ratings and reviews in iTunes or whatever your favorite podcast app is of choice. That's at onepodcast.com. And until next time, be content that you've finally chosen the winning side. And thanks for listening. Once Podcast is a proud member of Noodle.mx Network. Find more of our award-winning and award-nominated podcasts to make you think, laugh, and succeed at Noodle.mx. Big thanks to our sponsors for this episode of the podcast. If you'd like to be one of them and help keep the podcast running, then please go to oncepodcast.com/sponsor. Okay.
Yay.
Whew.
How's your hand?
Sore.
You're like, I need a mic stand.
Yeah. That was the one thing that when I was packing the equipment, I realized, oh no, I don't have a mic stand for me. Because I've got two microphones kind of like this that are USB and XLR. And I gave one of them to Jacqueline. She's got it with the mic stand like that. And yeah, it was tricky. Thanks for joining us, guys. Because of the complications, I'm not going to play the spoilers.
You'll have to listen to them.
Yeah. Well, actually, Jack, are you here? I don't know. I don't think she is. So I think she said, oh yeah, okay. Well, Jack, what I'll do is I'll just give you a link to the spoilers so you can listen to them and take notes on them. Firelight, that would have been awesome. It's been complicated to do this show, though, this episode, because of being in San Diego and not having normal equipment, not having all the time to prepare for it too. And that created a lot of complications for a lot of things and like didn't give us enough time to sort through all of the feedback even and to be able to incorporate all of it. But I do appreciate your coming. And you might still have a chance to send us in that extra stuff. So thank you very much, guys. I've got to pack up this stuff, but the podcast will probably publish sometime tomorrow with the spoilers in it. So
Listen to them. They're good.
Yeah. Yeah, and there might even be some bloopers. We'll see. I don't know.
We had a very interesting time recording them before.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day. I'm enjoying wonderful San Diego weather. You've got nice out here.
Oh, yay.
Even though you don't like this weather.
I miss the cold.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon. Bye.
Just so you know, the final episode